start.
It's romantic.
I know, right?
The ambiance.
Okay, so this is our second. I'm still not sure completely what to call it. I'm still calling it like real talk, or Mark had said something with Stacy yesterday. So whatever you want to call it, let's do it. But this is our second one, and today we are talking with you, Dana Johnson, and we just wanted to go over sellers' objections and other difficult conversations that you may have or may have had in your past, and just kind of talk about some real life scenarios of how you overcame those situations and handled them like a professional that you are.
Or just like a cranky person.
So what percentage of your business would you say comes from sellers now?
65 to 75% probably.
At what point of your career do you believe that it shifted to that?
Ooh, I always liked sellers better. And I used to do my numbers every year. It was based on buyers, sellers, both, and then I broke it down by area. So, because I wanted to know where I was doing my business. And it's always been pretty, I mean, I guess starting about year 2, it's been about 65-35, just for as long as I could make
Did you
it
do
that
anything
way.
strategic to target sellers over buyers, or is that you feel like it just came about?
You know, I did stuff in the beginning like borrow people's listings to create a one-page ad in the real estate book. I mean, I didn't have 12 listings, but I was going to, Mark would send me a listing, or, you know, to anybody, I'd advertise anybody's listing. And I think that the perception was that I had the listings, and so I was the person to call to list your house. So eventually, I mean, like, lots of open houses, lots of phone time, lots of mail outs, lots and lots of mail outs. That's from the get-go. That was really, you know, at that time, Coldwell Banker paid for the postage. So I'm thinking, well, heck, that's half the battle. Okay,
Yeah.
mail outs it is.
Yeah.
So
But you
I
see
think
the
that was
value in it and how it's paid off in your career.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think that's really awesome. So what, now that you do deal with sellers so much more than buyers, what is your number one objection that you tend to run into whenever you're dealing with them? Is it unrealistic pricing? Is it commission cuts?
You know, I don't know if I just get lucky and have compliant clients a lot of times. I don't get a whole lot of objections. I mean, you know, how much do you charge? My answer is always, I charge 6%. And I always make it a complete sentence. I charge 6%. Not just 6%. I charge 6%.
Pause.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How often do you
What
get
else would you like to
pushback?
talk about?
Yeah.
You know, I don't, do what?
I was just saying, how often do you get pushback on that? Or did you even at the beginning get more than you do now, do you feel like?
I don't. And I don't think it's just because, you know, I'm more commanding and people just think they're going to pay for it. But I guess it's just because I don't really make it something that's negotiable.
Yeah.
My favorite commission story, and, you know, you can't stop me if you have.
No, I want to hear it. I want to hear it, yeah.
Go get some popcorn. Is I had a listing for an appointment for a listing. It was opening season, a little Lumberton Little League. We decided to meet at 7 o'clock at Crazy Jose's in Lumberton, and I go in there, long day. I'm like headed for divorce. You know, I'm already hating my life at the moment and kind of planning for the future. I'm in transitional mode, and I'm cranky and my feet hurt. And at 7 o'clock, and there's all these freaking little kids running around, and so it's just the tone is not set for a successful appointment. And so I find the guy. I've got my little presentation folder and my big old purse, and plop down in the booth, and within a minute of me being seated at the table, he says, chemical engineer working in sales in industry, and he's like, so XYZ agent says she'll list my house for 4%. You know, will you list it for 4%? And I grabbed that folder and I slammed it shut, and I went to pick it up and I said, then you need to list it with XYZ agent because I charge 6%. He's like, well, wait, I want to hear what you have to say. And I said, well, no, if you want to list your house for if you want to pay 4%, you don't need to hear what I have to say because that has nothing to do with what you want to do. So if you're planning to pay 4%,
Yeah.
you need to list with that agent.
Our conversation is done.
Oh, I was done really before I got there. I mean, at that point, I didn't care about his listing or anybody else's listing. I wanted to go home and take my shoes off. And I was cranky. Like, you don't even know me and you got your hands in my pocket.
Yeah.
So
How rude.
he
Not having it.
said, wait, I do want to hear what you have to say. And reluctantly, I was like, well, here's the comps, here's what I do, here's my
Whatever.
resume, here's a notepad with my name on it.
Here's a notepad.
You know,
You're getting that.
I mean,
Here's a refrigerator.
Now you're just wasting your time or something, yeah.
give me the stamp off that, I'll send that to somebody else. So I left there and I'm like, oh, what ass, that guy was an ass. So I'm checking my spam folder like 2 days later, and I don't even know what I was looking for. There's this email from this guy to start looking for houses. Well, turns out he works for West Rock, the paper mill. And he was like, hey, I got a heads up that there's the new personnel guys coming in, you know, want me to get you his name and, you know, maybe you could work with him. I'm like, yeah. So then I got married to West Rock. I mean, I probably closed, God, I wish I kept track of that, 30 plus West Rock transferees, buyers, sellers, listings.
That's awesome.
I mean, it was an enormous amount of business, and it all came from.
That's right. Yeah.
I'm talking.
But you drew your boundaries right then. I mean, you know, you set your boundary. Drew your line in the sand, I was gonna say.
Yeah, I think my attitude that day kind of set my boundaries for me. I don't know that I necessarily went in there thinking, if this guy wants a discount, I'm gonna slam the folder
Yeah.
shut. But
So how many more appointments did you set at 7:30 in the morning after that?
no, this was in the evening.
Oh, in the evening. I thought
Yeah,
you were
end of the day, not
Yeah.
good.
Dana, did it change? So this guy, I mean, obviously you were not in the mood to hear what he had to say at that point, but how did that conversation and the overall experience where he's like, yeah, I kind of want you to list this, how did it affect whenever you had maybe a nicer person across the table who asked the same thing of you?
I think I don't usually slam the folder, but I think I typically do push back.
Mhm.
I charge 6%,
Okay, but we really want you to do it for 5 or 4.
and I can appreciate that. I charge 6%.
I think a lot of times they're testing you. to see
Absolutely,
If you can't
yeah.
negotiate your worth, how can you
Absolutely.
negotiate for them?
And sometimes,
Yeah.
you know, there's 1,000 scripts, you know, if I'm not gonna negotiate for my paycheck, what makes you think I'm gonna, you know, try to negotiate for your equity, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I think sometimes you can ease into that if pressed, but I think a lot of times you don't even have to.
Yeah.
I think there's so many people that just kinda, oh, I'll do it for cheaper, you know,
Just kind
just
of roll
because.
John was saying yesterday.
Tell your story about Mid-County, before you
Yeah,
went
that's right.
there and your ideas about not going there, why you thought about not going there, and then once you went there,
I
what
was
happened?
like, okay. Well, okay, so I stayed out of Mid-County for the first 15 years of my career. It was too confusing. Like, I don't know where Grove stops and Port Neches starts. Don't ask me about the schools.
Yeah.
No, I think it's weird that this side of Gladys would be one school district and that side of Gladys would be another school district. That's just bizarre.
You're in Nederland and the house has a Port Neches address and they go to Port Arthur.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's just weird. And so
You just look it up on the
I figured for my personal business, I was like, I can't answer those questions and sound like I know what I'm talking about. I'm just gonna refer that. But at some point, maybe somebody I knew was listing their house and it was Mid-County and I thought, okay, so a listing, I could do a listing. I'll just stick my toe in the water with the listing in Mid-County because I'll do the research and I won't have to answer too many questions and I won't have to show. That was another thing. The lock boxes were different MLS and all. It's just way too much trouble. So just send that to somebody else. So then I did step into listings and I didn't know that Mid-County was typically a different percentage and so it never came up in my conversations. I don't think I was ever asked to cut my commission and still, well, sorry, I have one right now that's a 5%, but you don't know it as a buyer's agent because you're getting 3. But it just wasn't part of the conversation. And I think so many times it doesn't have to be. Like I remember we went to a Mont Bellevue office and somebody there said, oh yeah, I automatically, if somebody's buying a house with me, I automatically list their house for 5%. And I'm like,
Yeah, why is it automatic?
like unsolicited? Like without them asking you to do that?
Yeah.
I just couldn't believe that. Because how many times have you been showing buyers for 3 months and then they find it for sale by owner and ghost you and there you've lost everything and you've already committed to list their house for less. So
That's like so the class that we wanted to talk about this for, we call it listing objections, but it's seller objections mostly. And, you know, it says so often the agents just as a whole are trying to correct problems that they themselves have
Yeah.
created. So it's like, you know, what I love about the way you respond is, I charge 6%. Hold it. You know,
Yeah.
it's not like, let me fill the space and, well, but if, you know, if I do this, if I do that, I think that's where they get down that road and then they've rolled over and given away
Right.
a third of their income or more.
Well, if I immediately start trying to justify,
Yep.
but because I do this and I do this and I do this,
Right.
well,
Yep.
you seem nervous about that.
Uh-huh.
You know, is it really, does that photographer cost you 6%? It's like, no, it doesn't. That's just what I charge.
Right.
When you pause,
I charge my family 6%.
Mm-hmm.
when you pause, you make the uncomfortableness almost go to them, because it's
Yes.
not easy for them either. They're
Yeah.
human, they're like,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
Just kidding.
okay. Most of the time, if you just stop, they will, you're right,
Yes.
they'll just, okay.
Do you feel like that has something to do with like your own self-confidence and knowing what your worth is as far as what you bring to the table?
Nah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just charge 6%.
Yeah, it just is what it is. Yeah.
No, because I mean, I have a low confidence level as much as anybody else in this room, you know, in certain scenarios. There's never even an appointment that I walk into that I'm like, I got this.
Yeah.
You know, even people that I've worked with in the past,
Yeah.
do I ever assume that I've got the listing or that they'll, you know, choose to work with me as a buyer's agent?
Yeah. Well, we talk about a lot lately with having those uncomfortable conversations, and we're talking about commission and price, but what other ones do you find that you have to go into, and how do you handle those? Like, we've talked about contingencies, and I know that you're somebody that your story of being aware of dominoes and things like that, you know, impacted me when I heard it in one of our sales meetings. But I heard you on the phone earlier telling somebody, one of your clients, about being careful if it sells immediately and you don't have anywhere to go, you know, things like that. How do you prepare them and manage those expectations up front?
You know, COVID changed everything. I've never been a high pressure salesperson. I don't like high pressure salespeople, so I try to just kind of, you know, lay out realistic expectations for everybody from the get-go. And I had to incorporate into my listing agreement or my listing conversation, you know, if I sell your house in the next 30 days, is that going to be a problem for you? And I don't mean that to be like, if I sell your house in the next 30 days.
Yeah.
But if I sell your house in the next 30 days, you have a place to go.
Yeah.
You know, do you have an exit plan? Because if you don't have an exit plan, let's wait. Let's just hang tight. I mean, I want your listing. I want the sign in your yard tomorrow. But I don't want you homeless.
Yeah.
And I mean, like the little family in the RV, I've made people homeless before, and it's hard. It's very hard. They were family.
They
were your family?
Word.
So how does a scenario like that happen? Was it, I mean, was it something that before you were having those conversations with, or that they thought that they would be okay with it, and then it went?
Well, their plan was to put their house on the market. It was on Woodway, and I don't think they expected it to sell really quickly, but it did. Warren TV sold it almost immediately. And their plan was to move into their travel trailer until they found something. Except there was nothing to find. And we looked and we looked and we looked, and she was pregnant when we started looking, and she was uber pregnant when we finally found something.
Did she move in before she had the baby?
Yes,
Barely.
Okay.
Barely.
just barely.
And I think pregnant again.
Yes.
Yes.
They have since moved,
Yeah.
and she is uber pregnant
Uh-huh.
right now again with number 5.
These people were
It's
my
a
mom's
habit.
neighbors.
They've got
That's the only reason why we're like, oh yeah.
I told the buyer's agent, I said, you need to let these people know this is a very fertile house. Just know.
Fertile ground
Water
here.
is right.
Yeah. Something in the walls, I don't know.
So how that situation played out, has that changed the way that you communicate with them about that kind of scenario moving forward?
I do bring it up. I
Yeah.
do, you know, I recently was talking to someone that's talking about listing their house, and they want to make an offer. It's a reload house, and they won't take a contingency unless it's under contract. So that puts you in a scenario of, do I list my house and hope to get a contract in the process of trying to get this house under contract? Because if I get my house under contract and this one doesn't happen, homeless.
Yeah.
So, yes, we have to play out, you know, okay, let's work scenarios, because hey, I want to list your house. Let's do it. I'd love to write an offer for you, but the steps have to work together, or you're going to be homeless.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I don't know how much people like their in-laws and all of
Well, no,
that.
you're right. That's not always a guaranteed comfortable situation to put them in.
Right.
Yeah. Another thing that we've been talking about a lot lately is like roofs. We talked about that today in the mastermind, flood insurance, things like that. Situations that we're going into now that are unique a little bit in the time that we're in. How do you address those up front or prepare your sellers going in?
All these new Rita roofs
Yeah.
are really getting to be problematic. And I mean, my husband's got a roofing crew, so it's hard for me not to look at a roof and go, that's gonna have to happen. But I do start the conversation. When they use the word new and after read it in the same sentence, we have to revisit the calendar and say, hey, your new roof just had its 17th birthday. You know, it's only a 20-year shingle. You should have, you know, paid for the architectural shingles and maybe we'd be okay. But, you know, your new 17-year-old roof has been through 5 hurricanes. And that crepe myrtle has obviously been rubbing on it for about 3 years. So you have to talk about it.
And we keep going.
So how, are you running into a lot of issues with flood insurance of ones that didn't have it, that now it's gonna be high, or that, and how are you handling those issues now, since that's a newer thing for us?
Something interesting I encountered yesterday was I have some buyers, they're looking at a house in Groves, the Groves. And the Groves. It's a Relo house, and Relo took over the listing from the buyer, and Relo didn't renew the flood insurance. Previous flood insurance was $572. It got 24 inches in Harvey, the whole neighborhood did, and buyers got a flood quote, and it's $4,800. Dead. They're not interested anymore. So, I mean, I come in to an appointment, hi, my name's Dana Johnson, do you have flood insurance, and when does it renew? You know, I mean, it's so important, and you can't stress to people how, well, I don't want to renew it if I'm selling my house every day.
Yeah.
So
That's so
it's,
annoying.
then you have to, now I've got a new story to share with them about why it's so freaking important, and just to please do it, you know.
Yeah, yeah, that's a big deal, it definitely is, and I've ran into it, whenever you said that, I thought, what is the address? So what would you say, I'd asked John these questions yesterday, but what would you say is your greatest strength in business?
Oh, man. This is like, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
I know a couple of these are gonna.
My greatest strength, I guess I work hard.
Yeah, definitely. You are somebody that, if nobody else is up here, I know that Dana's usually up here, so I love it.
I don't have a home office. I don't want a home office. One day I'll have a home office, but I don't want to work from home.
Well, you are somebody that, we always talk about never being completely, you know, where you're not needing to learn anymore. We're always in a state
Training
of
junkie.
training, yeah. And you're somebody that has always seemed to believe in that and bought in. How important is it for people to be plugged in, especially newer agents, but I mean, all of them?
It's not just newer agents. It's every agent.
Yeah.
If you are not plugging in, if you're not taking advantage, I mean, I've probably done MLS training at the board 6 times. Okay, I've been in freaking real estate for 22 years, and every time I do MLS training with the board, I learn something new about Paragon.
Yeah.
And so, to not do that, I mean, I've taken broker responsibility back before it was even required, and it scares the hell out of me every year I take it. You know, if you're not taking those classes, if you're not going to these 1-hour Texas Regional lunch and learns, then you're missing out, because you will pick up something new at every opportunity if you just let yourself.
The blue button at the top. Yeah, no, and we preach that about mastery here, because it's so easy to say, oh, I already took that class, but like you're saying, everything that you go to, it's like a movie. Each time you watch it, you're gonna catch something, and in real estate, it's ever evolving, so
Right.
Depending on what scenarios you end up in or situations, it's gonna mean something different to you at
Or
that time.
somebody in the class is gonna share a story of
Yeah.
something that they went through, and you just went through that, and if you heard that before you went through what you went through, you could have handled it differently.
Absolutely.
I mean, just picking other people's brains all day, every day.
Yeah. Well, then staying on the topic of constantly trying to improve, where is one area of your business that you wish or would like to still improve?
Oh God, there's so many. Oh, as much as I hate to say it, technology. I mean, I'm self-professed technotard, and I own it. I mean, I don't like it, I don't want it, but it doesn't matter because it's happening.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of like that little old lady when it comes to technology. But that is a huge weakness of mine. But on the flip side of that, I, group up with people who are good at technology so that I am able to avoid it.
Yeah, no, I think that's awesome. And it's also, Ashley had a question.
No,
Sorry.
you can finish.
I was gonna say it's also an important lesson in like interdependence of appreciating your own strengths and weaknesses and, those around you. that
I'm huge on
fill
that.
those, yeah.
You asked me a question about back agent, and I'm just gonna.
I know a girl that can help you.
Let me get back with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah.
You can say, Ash?
I just want to know, I feel like at this point right now with the market shift that we're all experiencing the not my price battle, and that correlates a lot to listing.
Mhm.
So I want you to touch on how you get people to list at the price, because that's the biggest obstacle in a
Yeah.
listing.
Oh, yeah, and you know.
I mean, over commission even, is getting people to list at the price
Absolutely.
that you're suggesting.
Well, and sadly, I don't think any of us really know the right price today.
Agreed.
We didn't know it 6 months ago. We're not gonna know it 3 months from now. So it's, sadly, a whole lot of it is a guessing game. And there's been so many times when I've said, okay, we can try, and damn
They're
if it
right,
doesn't
I
work.
know.
And there you stand with egg on your face. And so I kind of, for the last 6 months, kind of adopted the crazy pricing strategy, and it was successful. And so now I'm kind of dialing it back because you start seeing all the price reductions, and you know, hearing the people, Taryn sharing yesterday that, you know, last month was her worst month in 33 years, and you know, that'll shake you. But I just think a lot of it is letting people know, listen, we've been in a really ridiculously hot market. And I've been through times when the market wasn't this hot. And I see the trends starting to shift. No, it's not a crash, it's not a bubble. Everything in Southeast Texas kind of ebbs and flows a little bit more,
Yeah,
you know, less volatile.
yeah.
But I mean, what do you do when you walk in and you know they think their house is worth 50,000 more than you want to list it at? What do you do?
Sometimes we go through a little self-discovery and we list it and we sit and stare at it.
Do you still bring your data where you could justify the price at and have that conversation of like, look, you
Yeah,
got a
and,
good
it,
car,
and
but this is
if
where
I
can
agree to list
justify
it like
we
legitimately
address the
higher
prices.
than what my comps say, I'll you know, scoot that spreadsheet over to them and have them initial it and just say, listen, when we have to reduce the price or when we sell it and it doesn't appraise, I want you to remember this conversation and this data because these are the numbers.
Yeah.
These are the same numbers that an appraiser is going to use. These are the same numbers that the chemical engineer buyers are out there looking at.
Yeah.
They're looking at these same numbers. The offer we get is going to be based on this data.
Yeah.
So just remember that we had this conference. I'll list it at your price, but
I think, you know, we have our pricing series class here, and we talk about that of justifying it and how pricing is not an exact science, like you're talking about, but
Yeah.
more of an art and a science. And it talks about having them self-discover, but for them to take accountability for whatever price it is. And so I think that you're right in that scenario. I mean, you know, if they're making that decision, at least you're showing them of, you know, what's guiding me to where I think you should be. If you want to do that, that's fine, but take accountability for it by signing, you know what I mean? Where,
just
where I
remember
guided
just
you and then-
remember the conversation that we
Yeah.
had. Don't lose sight of that because it's probably coming back around.
Do you have specific scenarios that would make you walk away or where you have walked away in
Yes.
the past?
Just
Right.
recently, I went out on a listing on Johnson Road. It was my listing when these people bought it. They were interviewing agents. It was an okay house. It was like 10, 12, maybe 15 years old on 5 acres, had a barn, a chicken coop. And my numbers came in at like $399 to $419. And I was meeting with the daughter. Daughter was interviewing for the mom. Mom already had a number. And so we talked and I said, you know, does that look about like, you know, what the other agents are coming in at? And she said, yeah, it's pretty consistent. And I said, okay. I said, what's mom's number? And she said, but it's nowhere near mom's number. And I said, what's mom's number? And she said, what do you think? And I said, I don't know, 425? And she said, I wish. And I said, 450? She said, 500? And she said, no, 750.
Oh,
Oh,
And
wow.
I looked at the folder. I said, well, I've never said this in 22 years, but I'm saying it now. There is no way I will put my sign on a listing at a price of $750 for this house. I said, there's just no way. I treasure my reputation in this business more than this listing, and there's just no way. I said, I hope your mom gets close to that, but that says that she's not going to. So she did list
Do you leave
it.
that data?
No.
Oh, that's what I was wondering, because you always say close up that folder.
Oh no! If I don't leave with the listing, I leave with the entire folder. I don't leave anything behind. Put it on the market for $399.
In that kind of situation, do you ever say, well, you know, you can list it for whatever you want to, whatever you think it's worth, but if somebody buys it or somebody makes an offer and has to get financing, which most of the time they do, that's never gonna work. It's not
Right.
gonna happen.
The appraiser is going to
You're
look
gonna-
at
yeah, you're
this
gonna get
same
to
set of
this
numbers.
point, And then you're gonna be dead in your tracks.
Right. And for her, I felt like her gap was so wide, I didn't even want to go through it.
yeah.
It was
Yeah, it's
not,
too far.
that was literally not going to be
I
worth
use that
the
little
effort.
breakup nudge.
When you didn't have her in front of you.
You can do whatever you want to, but this is where it's gonna,
Right.
this is
Unless
where the-
your
We're
buyer's
still
paying
gonna end up
cash.
here.
Yeah.
That's,
Well, and you're reasoning with the wrong person.
Yeah, she
It
wasn't
wasn't the
ready.
decision maker too.
Right,
That's
exactly.
another
Oh, that-
reason.
Yeah,
Well,
that was not made clear when I made the appointment, but, you know.
going by what she said, what Melanie said, that was the one thing I was gonna say. It seems to when I'm in that position, I say, look, because a lot of times the seller doesn't realize it still has to appraise.
Yeah.
They don't think that they know that. They
Yeah.
don't typically know. Well, I might just get that. Joe Blow may just
Yeah, it's like
offer
whatever
this,
they're willing.
but it still has to appraise.
Yeah, Joe
And
Blow
they're like,
may-
wait, what do you mean? I'm like, it still has to go through a process. 95% chance it's gonna have to be appraised.
Yep.
And I'm telling you, it's not going to. So we're gonna get all the way to this point.
Yeah, you're just delaying the
And
inevitable.
that
I've
will
had the-
typically make them
I've-
go, oh.
With that, I've had the objection of, well, there's cash buyers. Yeah, but there's not that many.
Yeah.
And they're typically not stupid either.
Yeah, that's
I've
exactly.
had that happen when
Yeah.
I told them 30,000 less than they wanted to list it, 30,000 higher, and so I did, and then the next day a cash buyer came
Yeah.
and bought
This
it.
sounds like 300,000
It's
difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will overprice a listing by 30,000. I will
Yeah,
not
this is
overprice a listing by
multi-hundred.
300.
Double the price of a house.
Yeah, no.
Oh,
God, no. This
Was
is
there
like a
any-
Take back my
Was
license.
there any particular reason why she thought she would get?
Mhm.
That's just what she wanted,
Yeah.
and she was calculating.
That was mom's
Yeah.
number.
That's what I'm saying, well, that's what we need.
Need.
Yeah, oh yeah.
That's fun. Okay, so how many years have you been in the business now?
22.
22. And I asked John this as well, but 22 years in the business, Dana. If you could give one piece of advice to rookie Dana, what would that be?
Oh, man.
The more you know. No, I'm just kidding.
No kidding.
Just keep swimming.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Don't let it hurt your feelings.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just don't let it hurt your feelings. Bill Jones, when I was Texas Realtors RVP for Region 9, he was the president of Texas Realtor, TAR.
Mhm.
And a lot of meetings and stuff, and he was just a super, super guy. And one of the things that he said was, get up and go to work every day, be nice to people, and never be attached to the outcome. And that never be attached to the outcome,
It's hard.
like, resonates. It's really not hard. That's the thing, is once you get to a position, and, single mom, year 2 in the business, I was not in a position. I was one desperate fool. But once you get to a position or a stage in your business where you can literally not be attached to the outcome. If this closes, great. If it closes on time, great.
Where your feet hurt and your.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I mean, you stop and think about in life, if you're making decisions because you're so attached to the outcome, that is gonna very, very differently affect those decisions. There was an agent that was notorious for telling people that they had to make an offer today because she needed to pay her truck note.
Mm.
And I'm like, oh, exactly.
I think you should share with them how many transactions you had your first year.
52.
Isn't that
Your first year?
That's insane.
Can everybody else hear?
I never stopped working. No,
Oh, what was the question?
How many transactions in your first
How many
year?
transactions did you have in her first year? Tell her again.
So to add more information to that answer, I had 52 closings. 4 of them came from a mobile home that I had both sides of, that 2 different people owned the mobile home and the lot. It was in a trailer park, and so that counted as 4. I had both sides of the lot and both sides of the trailer, so, but it was 52. 52 sides. My printout at the end of the year said 52.
Yeah.
But at that time, I also had a 54% split with a 6% franchise fee on every transaction, and my 1099 for that year, it was $4.2 million was the production for that year. My 1099 was for $59,000.
Oh,
I went back. That's one of the reasons I moved to Keller Williams, was their commission structure was so much better. And I went back and reworked the numbers based on what my numbers would have been. I wanted to vomit. It was terrible. So, yeah, 52, but basically,
52 plus 6.
52 for 50.
58.
no, 52 inclusive of the 4.
Includes the 6% franchise fee?
No, 54% split minus 6% franchise fee. And then if you have, if you didn't back then have much reload, but then you would start slicing all the reload out of that too.
40%.
Yeah,
It was a
you
60.
wind up owing money.
It was a 60-40.
Yeah, so the split was 60.
60-40.
54 plus
6%.
the 6%.
54 minus 6%.
Why was, how minus?
Because if I was keeping 54
Oh, you were
and
keeping.
paying
Yes,
6%,
yes.
Oh,
that's,
that wasn't
yeah.
off the 60. That was, that wasn't 60 minus
No, that was
6.
54 minus
Oh,
6.
54 minus, so 48. Oh, my God.
Mhm.
Jeez.
But
What
there's
did
no
you ask,
fees.
Hester?
There's no fees.
Okay, yeah, but no fees.
Didn't they get you an office?
I think it is
Just the
I
common-
think
Oh
it is.
man, my first office was this piece of particle board outside of Eddie's classroom upstairs. Like I didn't even have a
I
computer.
was in a bullpen, literally.
The premium, they called it the
They
premium
were
board.
not interested in it.
Premium
You
board.
paid them for that though.
What is it?
Didn't you pay $10 a listing?
I think I'd rather keep my money in.
We did. There was a $10 a listing for something, and then
Especially when you
get-
first
I
start.
do remember that.
Hey.
Whether they put it,
So do you have any advice for those of us agents coming up as to how we can kind of overcome some of these objections or stand our ground?
Stand your ground.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. I
Yeah.
think people are looking for weakness. People are looking for opportunity to.
I think
know.
what you were saying about don't leave the door open with it, you know what I mean, is so important. You're right. I like that.
Yeah, I just get up, go to work every day, work hard, be nice to people, be nice to other agents. I mean, I'm kind of not always nice to other agents. I mean, I don't want to say like I'm so nice to work with all the time. I'm not, but it's only because I'm working very hard for my client. It's
Yeah.
not because I don't
It's not
wanna-
personal.
not because I'm not a nice person. And
You're not nice. I mean, you're not nice to people.
I don't think I am.
I've
But
done deals with you and I thought you were
Yeah,
nice.
yeah.
Well, I think I'm direct, and so
Yes,
a lot of
but I
times
like
people
that.
can't
I
handle
appreciate it.
We
direct.
all are too, you know.
If you answer the phone.
Well, I was gonna say, the thing is, if people would just answer the phone, the niceness level would go up.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Respond to
most
it.
of the time it's warranted.
Yeah.
They had it come in.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Thank
It
you,
is
John.
true.
I appreciate the validation.
So does anybody have any questions that they have for her before we wrap anything up?
I do.
Oh, Hester did too.
Did you hear anything about our offer?
From the HOA people?
She was asking if they heard about an offer that she was making, sorry.
Yeah. While we have the opportunity to communicate.
Business first.
We are still waiting on the HOA people to respond.
Okay, Charlie?
So I have a phone-in question.
Oh, okay.
I love
That is, you know, being detached emotionally from the outcome. How do you manage that or navigate it when you do get emotional in a transaction?
Like people piss you off.
That's good.
Alcohol.
That's,
Well,
I mean, that's what he's saying.
Or you're attached to your clients / relationships because we know that we're married to these folks
Yeah.
Absolutely.
for a while.
Oh, yeah, I
So-
cry for my people a lot. There's
So
no question.
How do you navigate
You do
that?
too, Carrie, you know it. I try to like be the one in the room with the level head and go, okay, let's work this out. Like I can remember this one customer, they had a great little house in Northwest Forest, pre-Harvey, but they had terrible carpet. It was terrible carpet. And I'm thinking to myself, I am going to spin my freaking wheels trying to sell this nasty house, this nasty carpet. Everything else about the house, they had little kids, and they had let them trash the carpet. And they were getting ready to move, and they were stretched financially, and I just said, and I was single at the time, and I probably shouldn't have done it, but I was like, look, what if I pay Lowe's to put new carpet in the house, and then y'all just pay me back when it closes? It's Northwest Forest, it's gonna sell, I'm confident of that, but there's no way that they could have done that, and it was to my benefit. I mean, there was a selfish reason for me wanting to just say, let's just get rid of the carpet and make it fresh. And so I did that, and they have never forgotten that. We're still Facebook friends, and I keep up with the kids, and the wife every once in a while will just say, you know, I've never forgotten what you did for us to help us sell our house. And now, I've never packed the first box. I've never packed the first box.
Really?
I'm not going there.
Meaning you don't help them move.
No.
Yeah.
Not my job.
Me neither.
No, I hear people doing
I
that, and I'm
hate
like,
moving, so there's no
yeah,
way I'm helping
sorry.
somebody move. Like, yeah.
I would rather hire somebody to go
Maybe
help.
the movie thing, you say, if I hurt myself, I can't work, so I can't.
I don't know, I do
It
stuff.
just seemed like the more
Not-
you got established, the more you could do those kind of things to kind of get the deal to go, because when you're starting off and you have no money, nothing, it's hard to be able to be that
Oh,
agent.
100%.
It took me years to where I'm like, I'll pay for it, so everybody will shut the hell up. This is how it is working. So I'll pay for it, everybody will shut up, excuse me, and then we'll deal with it. I forgot we're being recorded.
Where were you?
What?
This
John?
will be-
No, that's beyond my head.
Yeah.
They want how to listen.
This is what you got.
Well, I appreciate you so much being here, and it's been so much fun to talk to you and ask you all questions. Thank you.
It was fun.
I love
Thank
you.
you.
Yeah.